Guys, Meghan Markle is in full on damage control. That was, I think, the entirety of the point of her recent appearance at the Children's Hospital Los Angeles gala. Because when you look at the wording of specific news stories, I'm looking really at People magazine, it very much mirrors what people said about Harry, positive things people said about Harry in the Hollywood Reporter article. And I have a strong indication that Meghan Markle's PR team might have even coached the person that they quoted what to say exactly so that Meghan Markle could seem as likable as Harry. Because Meghan Markle, I think, is very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people like her husband and they don't like her. And so she's desperately sort of trying to alleviate this, trying to change this. But unfortunately, I think she went about it, of course, so directly and such with a sledgehammer that anyone with a little bit of PR background or news media background can kind of pick up on the fact that she's literally trying to repeat the same stories that her husband received. And I don't think this is going to go well for her. And she really needs to figure out how to manage the fallout of the bullying allegations. And I think obviously the easiest answer is to, well, just be nice to your staff and maybe these stories will go away. But Meghan Markle doesn't quite operate like that. So we are going to take a little bit of a deep dive into this because I think this is so important because not everybody is super media literate. And when I looked at it, I just immediately glommed onto a couple words. I was like, oh my gosh, these are almost exactly what was said about Harry. And Meghan very much is desperate to try to seem as likable as her husband. Unfortunately, I don't think she'll succeed. But we will explore this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, that'd be absolutely fantastic. We would love to have you back. And obviously, I'm not in my usual setup today, but I'm thinking of all of you who are in, obviously, Florida and, of course, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee after, obviously, Hurricane Helene. And now we have Hurricane Milton coming through, and people are making some pretty dire predictions on that. So I will go ahead and include again the link to a fundraiser we started last week for the Red Cross for Hurricane Helene. But I think because it is the Red Cross, I think this extends both to Hurricane Milton as well. So if you're thinking of those who might be impacted, I know we have a lot of people who follow Royals who are in Florida. I pray for safety for all of you, and obviously as they try to manage this incredible storm. And so stay safe, everyone. And we will go ahead and get into this story. Obviously, it started last week, and Meghan on, I think it was Saturday or maybe Sunday, showed up. It was Saturday night, showed up at the Children's Hospital LA gala. And she put on a really bizarre display with one of her friends. This is one of, I think, like the weirdest pictures that, they're clutching hands together, which is super duper odd. Although if I feel like Meghan is really the one who's like super focused on that. And her friend, especially when you watch the videos, her friend looks like so natural. So like she has been on the carpet for years and years at this point. And Meghan, I'm looking at her going, Meghan, you look like the total amateur here. You're all over the place. You're acting super weird. And her friend Kelly, who is the woman in the, actually, I would call it lovely lavender dress, looks so much more royal and regal than Meghan Markle did. And of course, just got to highlight this bizarreness right here. And it really seems like this is Meghan's thing. Meghan is very touchy-feely, and I think she forces people to hold hands with her, interact with her in a very touchy-feely way to make her appear not only more likable, but more friendly or cuddly or something. I don't know. But when this whole situation occurred, we all were like scratching our heads like, why is she there? She made some weird comment about how all her friends' kids are apparently receiving treatment at this hospital. And it started like a lot of questions raising, why was she there? Because she was there only a short period of time. Now, I know there are stories that Meghan Markle was kicked out. I just hear them as rumors. I have not heard a very, very reputable source say that yet. So I don't tend to go down that train because I think there are sometimes bigger issues to discuss here. And that is why Meghan did this. Think about this. She utilized sick children to try and repair her public image. That's entirely what this thing was about. I do think she was a last minute addition. I don't think she had been initially planned to attend, but I think she somehow weaseled her way into this because she desperately needs a positive PR moment. She has had a disastrous PR week so far, or last several weeks since basically September 12th. And so she's like, okay, let's fix this. Sick kids, there we go. And if you think that is callous and tacky, that is because it is. That is 100% callous and tacky, because apparently she went in there, met with one family, talked to some nurses, kind of chatted briefly with people, and then walked her way out and never came back. So she hardly spent any time here. So it really does entirely feel like a photo opportunity. And of course, Lizzie Cundy said something very similar. And she is a former, you could call her a friend of Meghan Markle. They were obviously a little bit buddy-buddy right before Meghan met Harry. And I think she was right. It says Meghan just sort of used this, in that Meghan Markle needs LA a lot more than LA needs Meghan Markle. But what really got me about this story, because other people are going to cover other aspects of it, but what really got me is when I was reading the People magazine article and this whole situation where they're trying to make her seem relatable. And not only do I think they failed, they showed their hand here. I know entirely why she was there. She's jealous, insanely jealous probably, of her husband and how much people like him. And she wants to try to amend her public image.
And again, she is using sick children to do so.
What am I exactly discussing here? So let's start off with, just because it's good to, again, have a full rounded view of things. Meghan and Harry like to do this really, really dumb thing where they pretend they're royalty when they're not, and post something as idiotic as this. This is on their website. This is stupid. Why is this stupid? Because it doesn't need to exist. Does Jamie Lee Curtis, who I believe was also there, have a website where she discusses what she did at this particular event? No. Royals do that. Why? Because that is their job. This is not Meghan's job. This is just something she does on the side, but she's trying to make it an attempt to sort of force in this narrative that she's royalty, when she looks, I'm sorry, like a desperate D-list actress and a little bit skanky. Let's be honest. This dress was not royal appropriate. And we actually have a lovely example in Queen Mary of Denmark recently, who hosted a state visit with Iceland with her husband. She also mixed a skirt from a different dress with the top of this dress. I think I like the original dress better, but she looks regal. And she wasn't born into royalty. She's an Australian, but she had to adopt this. And I think some people haven't and some people don't. Or some people are just so wanting to be accepted by this world that they do go along with things that they maybe don't necessarily like, because they know the dividends are good at the end. Meghan Markle is not this person. Of course, she chooses this picture where she's almost flashing a child right here. She's almost flashing a child, and her profile is not her best feature, I would say. Catherine has a great profile. Meghan, not so much. So, sorry, I only mentioned that because I'm like, why would you post this picture? This is a terrible picture. This is like your worst angle. Sorry, that's just like the photographer person in me. But anyway, so they have this like long list of things and what CHLA is doing, and the Courage to Care award, which Meghan Markle didn't stay for because she doesn't care, and that she was invited as a special guest by the CEO, Paul Viviano, who she did take a picture with, but she didn't spend any time there. Like, she was there a hot 5 seconds and then left. And then, we had to talk about the nurses. She talked to the nurses. The event was co-chaired by Molly McNerney and Jimmy Kimmel alongside Kristen and Jeff Worth. But again, she did not stay for that long. And so it has to go over her connection with this, having visited the hospital on several occasions. We only know of one. Now, granted, she could have visited more, but I sort of doubt it. Meeting with patients and participate in the annual Make March Matter campaign, which we've never heard her participate in. Residents of the gala underscored her commitment to advocating for health and the well-being of children around the world. No, around the world, you're going to the children. Again, their PR is so abysmally handled. You cannot help children all over the world. You should just concentrate on the children in Los Angeles or wherever. Like, they portray this, I think, so incredibly stupid vision of themselves as how these movers and shakers, when they literally do tours of countries where they're literally on a government funded vacation and then leave and then don't, like, there's nothing that happens. Why? Because they have no power. They have no power. And so the evening was a resounding success. How does she know? She left like 15 minutes in. How does she know it was a resounding success? Reminding us of the power of the community support and improving lives of those in need. No, you don't care. You left. And so, again, this thing that she tries to pull here, and of course we have some of the pictures, and one's maybe this, here's the CEO. Like, why are you posting these pictures? Just get an Instagram. This is just silliness. This is just silliness. And stop with the stupid black and white pictures. Oh, come on. And why are you clutching your friend's hand like you're 12 years old? Again, we went all over this in a different video, but here's the kicker. The kicker is what I think Meghan wanted to gain out of this, which was not, of course, helping families or children or anything like that. It was to help herself. So guys, this is the article. Meghan Markle has relatable moments with mom at Children's Hospital LA Gala. It was incredibly sweet. And I want to highlight this. No pretense about her. So why does this matter? Because I feel like it mirrors so closely what was said about Harry in the Hollywood Reporter, which said Harry is a very, very charming person, no airs at all. And then we have here, no pretense about her, which essentially means the same thing, which is that although they have these big titles and images, they're one of the people, you know? And so let's dig into a little bit of this and why I think this was a PR plant. So it talks about how they had a relatable moment, talked about her kids. Heaven forbid anybody forget that she has 2 children who nobody ever sees and nobody ever sees with her. It was incredibly sweet, an attendee told people. And at one point, Ella's mom and Meghan had a relatable moment about having 2 children. The guest adds, again, we don't know who this guest is. Why wouldn't they say who they are? It's a little weird. Meghan was lovely and there was no pretense about her. She was smiling and happy to shake hands with anyone who approached her. Now, here's what's interesting, is when you think about it, you could totally, as the journalist or as a PR person, get somebody to essentially make that statement, even if that is not what they originally said. So what I mean by that, because our PR person can go, well, Meghan, of course you see her and she has no airs at all, right? And then the person could go, yeah, Meghan was lovely and there was no pretense about her. I feel like I'm not getting it quite right. But you can change up your wording to get a particular response. So if you watch interviews, what you will notice is that the interviewer sometimes is trying to get particular sound bites out of a person. This especially happens when I would say it's an aggressive interview. And sometimes you'll see them ask the same question multiple times in different ways. The reason they're doing that is they're trying to get a particular response. Who knows how many things this person said until they got to the exact thing they needed for Meghan right there. And again, they could have entirely led her to that answer. And basically talking about how nice Meghan was. She was so lovely, wasn't she? And you're like, yeah, Meghan was lovely. And there was no pretense about her. Again, they're massaging the people there to get a particular reaction. Now, again, this could have entirely happened. I'm not sure. This could be entirely natural, and I'm just reading too much into it. But I don't think that's the case. And the reason is that Meghan has had a terrible, horrible several weeks of PR. She's been accused of being a bully again. She did her disastrous response in Us Weekly, which I still think is an epic, epic train wreck. And now she is trying to amend. And so she's like, sick children, that is the way to go. So she knew about this event because I'm sure of her friend Kelly. And she's like, okay, if I can go there and if I can get people to say how amazingly wonderful and relatable I am, that will help fix the negative PR narrative. And obviously, that's not going to work. It is so a Meghan Markle approach, but it's not going to work because the problem is not how Meghan interacts with the average Joe most of the time. I think Meghan Markle is probably, if you meet her in a store, unless she's in a bad mood or something, fairly pleasant. The truth comes when the doors are closed and she's with people whom they rely on her for their salary. That's when the nastiness comes out, allegedly. That is when it comes out. I don't care what interaction she had with a random person. That's not the issue. The issue is how she treats staff overall. That's a bigger issue. That is the huge, massive, glaring issue for Meghan Markle right now, is that she needs to figure out how to have a good relationship with her staff. And she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that right now. And these kind of things, trying to sort of pseudo, I feel like, generate a Prince Harry level response, it's just not going to work because she's not Harry. She's not Harry. She struggles with likability. And of course, we all struggle with different things. And course, Meghan could be a heck of a lot nicer than she is. But she fails to do the simplest thing here. She goes and tries to upstage an event about children in order to suit herself because she cannot control herself and treat her staff kindly. That is the simplest way to fix this negative narrative. Just be nice to your staff. Just to be nice to your staff. And then naturally, what will happen is if you're nice to them, naturally at some point, the story will get out that you are nice. And eventually, your PR will change. But Meghan always wants to take the shortcuts. She never ever wants to do the hard work. She never wants to change. She never wants to admit fault. And so instead, she'll crash an event for sick children, show up for 15 minutes, and then bolt as soon as humanly possible, and maybe give a little bit of a donation. Because she's not even there. She wasn't even there as somebody who could generate more money for the event. So what happens in these particular events, if you've ever been to some sort of fundraising gala or whatever, is that they invite a person to speak and people come in part just to hear that person. And they give in part because of that person and what they've said. Meghan Markle didn't do any of those things. She showed up for 5 seconds and left. So she couldn't help with the fundraising because she didn't participate. She didn't participate. She offered nothing. She was not part of the itinerary. Nobody knew she was coming until last minute, which again is why I think she was a last minute addition. She's like telling her PR team or whatever, I need an event where I can look good for 5 seconds. And again, she fails to do all the simple things that she needs to do. Number one, of course, is be nice to your staff. Number two, that would help her reputation is actually work. Number three, stop doing dumb things like releasing American Riviera Orchard 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 months too early because you can't stand that somebody else is getting more attention than you are. In this case, it was Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and where is Kate? That is the impetus for Meghan Markle launching American Riviera Orchard and then looking like a fool because it's tanking everywhere around her. Again, she just fails to do all the simple things. And again, none of this will help her in the long run. She needs to figure out how to change herself. Then maybe the PR will change. Right now, the cycle will just continue. Yeah, maybe she gets some good PR for a little bit, but then a negative story will come back up and again and again. Because the thing too is Meghan Markle's overall PR problem is that because there's blood in the water, because there is a negative narrative already established, people don't like her, negative stories about her sell, they will continue selling. They will always sell. The only person who can change this is Meghan Markle, and she can change it not by changing how everyone else around her. She can change it by changing herself. But that's the one thing she refuses to do. That's the one thing she refuses to work on is herself. And that is the easiest. That is the easiest thing she could do is work on herself. But instead, she will crash a fundraising event for children, which is just utterly despicable. And then have somebody on her PR team help formulate a story for People magazine where she looks quote unquote relatable like her husband. But she's not relatable. I think Harry can be very, very nice, not only to the average person, but also to his staff. We've heard time and time again, Meghan is not that person. And she refuses, again, to change what she is doing. And she's just going to, again, deal with this for infinity. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of my theory about the PR team basically concocting this story and getting the exact quote they wanted. I mean, I find it really suspect that the source is unnamed here because it could entirely be her own PR team. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again very, very soon because I have a video I filmed last week and I still haven't had a chance to edit it yet about a different People magazine article, again, about Harry and Meghan going their separate ways. So guys, again, just professionally, allegedly. So guys, again, thanks for watching and I shall see you soon. Bye.